Is AEW teasing former WWE stars joining the Dark Order among those that were recently released? Hi, how are you? It's great to see you. I'm Josh Rosowskis, and we're going to be discussing that here today. And I give you my opinions on why I think that just might be the case, as well as breaking down all of this week's AEW Dynamite. So, if this is your first time here, thank you for joining me. If you are joining me on the YouTube platform, please do consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell notification icon so that you don't miss out on any of future news, reviews, or podcast episodes, which go up every Saturday around 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the full In Ring Reality podcast. During the course of this review, you will see me utilize the Notes app on my phone so that I don't accidentally skip over something that happened on the show. So the show kicked off with a very interesting promo package. And I got to say that what made this the most interesting to me is that this literally felt like the Batcave. It felt like Cody was broadcasting from the Batcave. And on all of these monitors in front of him, Cody had the other superstars that are taking part in the TNT Championship tournament. And he talked about himself and his career struggles, saying things like, "Am I that forever mid-card person like others always thought I was? Did I break the throne because I was afraid to sit on it?" This was just a brilliantly psychologically told story by Cody, and I'm really looking forward to his match, which I believe is next week or could be the week after. I'll be honest, AEW really confused me with the way that they're doing this TNT Championship tournament because they have some matches one week and some matches the next week, but because of the way that they are breaking down their brackets, it's hard to keep track of who faces who when. Then we got a Matt Hardy promo to kick off the show. And Matt Hardy was from the compound in full broken Matt Hardy Damascus character. And Damascus, among other things, challenges Sammy Guevara to meet him at the compound because the leader, the whole of the ass, La Champion Chris Jericho, has not said Matt Hardy's name or accepted Matt Hardy's challenge. Then the most interesting thing that we've seen since Matt Hardy's debut happened that almost felt like a hard reset for the character. Matt Hardy essentially broke the fourth wall to us, the wrestling fans, and said, "I realize that for some people, they cannot handle my broken brilliance. So maybe you should speak to the vessel, Matt Hardy." And then we got a promo from the real Matt Hardy. No reference to the broken universe, no anything. Just Matt Hardy in street clothes talking to Chris Jericho, saying, "Chris Jericho, we've been friends, we've been enemies, you've been avoiding me because I sided with my truest friends in the elite, guys like Matt and Nick Jackson, who are some of my very best friends in the entire world. You got mad, you got pissed because I didn't side with you. So now, if you come here to the compound, Jericho, I am going to kick your ass." And that is exactly the way the promo went. So I love this. I love it because now, for people that want to criticize elements of the broken character, the broken Matt Hardy persona or Damascus, the embodiment of the broken brilliance, can be seen as a split personality for Matt Hardy. So you've got Matt Hardy and then you've got broken Matt Hardy at the same time. It shows the depth of Hardy as a performer. The depth DEPTH. Sorry, kind of struggle with that word there, stumbled all over myself, but it shows that, and it shows the layers in which he can utilize that in a way that he's never done before and give us as wrestling fans something we've yet to have seen before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. In the first match of the night, it was Darby Allin defeating Sammy Guevara in the TNT Championship tournament. And I do apologize. I just looked down at my notes and I realized that the Matt Hardy promo did not happen at the top of the show. I misremembered, but since we already covered it and we're live, we just have to move on. But anyway, first match of the evening was indeed Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin in the TNT Championship tournament. And this was a great match. And again, we see a performer showing a bunch of layers because that performer, being Darby Allin, showed the ability to play a heel when need be and truly acted like an anti-hero tweener in this match, going so far as to work over Sammy Guevara's previously broken foot. And I think that's very key because Darby Allin gets the victory here, and it will be Darby Allin versus Cody in the semifinal matchup in the TNT Championship Tournament, a rematch between the two from the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because Darby also pushed Cody to the ground in frustration in the past. So is Cody going to go over here or is Darby going to go over here? Unfortunately, I think it's Cody because of something that happens later on, but we'll save that for when we get to it. Having already talked about the Matt Hardy promo, which came after the opening match, again, my bad, I apologize. We then got Taz in these new weekly segments where he takes one superstar and breaks down his moveset and explains it from a wrestler's perspective and explains why these moves should be so fearful and so dangerous. This week he focused on Kenny Omega and Omega's Snapdragon suplex and V-trigger knee to the face. I love this. I thought this was great, and this is a great utilization of Taz and his history as a performer, and it makes AEW feel more like a real sport. I'm all about it. We then, of course, saw Kenny in action as Kenny took on. I apologize. I will have to look down at the notes real quick because I can't remember the young man's name. They brought in a new talent for this match. Alan Angels was his name. So Omega faced Alan Angels, and you would think because we've never seen Alan Angels on Dynamite before, and this is obviously pushing Kenny Omega, who's still the champion in the Mexican Federation. He's still one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions, which of course is easy to forget because Hangman Adam Page was not able to make these tapings due to the pandemic, but he still holds that title. So you know Omega's going over here. But instead, what we got was a solid 5-minute matchup where they actually allowed Angels to show flashes of brilliance. And myself personally, I want to see more from Angels. I want to see what this guy is all about. So hopefully this is not the last time we see him in All Elite Wrestling. Then we get what appears to be the first of at least two parts, because the second part was advertised for next week, and possibly a third part. It is a package on the career of Scorpio Sky, delving into who Scorpio Sky is, what he's all about, and if we were only familiar with him in All Elite Wrestling, why we should care about him perhaps more deeply than we did. He talked about losing his mother. He talked about just doubting himself for so long because so many people told him he couldn't make it. And he talked about a debilitating spinal back injury, which he was told would never allow him to compete again until a miracle literally happened for him. And he woke up one day with his back not being able to hurt anymore. And thus, he decided that since his back no longer hurt him, that he was going to give wrestling another shot. So I really like this. This is really well done. AEW is knocking it out of the park with their video packages, for sure. Next up, we had freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy defeat Jimmy Havoc. It's great to see Jimmy Havoc back on TV. Jimmy Havoc had a little help and a little bit of alliance from his friend Kip Sabian and his girlfriend, Kip Sabian's girlfriend, that is, Penelope Ford, in this match. So it'll be interesting to see if this becomes some sort of permanent alliance or not, or if this was just an attempt to make sure that Orange didn't get the win because they all hate Orange. But nonetheless, it wasn't enough because Havoc made the fatal mistake. He actually forced Orange Cassidy's hands back into his pockets to make fun of him, and that gave him all of his necessary superpowers he needed to become fully freshly squeezed and pick up the victory. You know, at first I never knew what to make of freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. I really didn't know what to make of the guy because it was so different than anything we'd ever seen before. But the more he wrestles and the more over the top he gets with the gimmick that he has, the more I'm enjoying it. So kudos to freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy for the victory here. Over the last several weeks, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, otherwise known as MJF, has been teasing that we all need to be on the lookout because he has an update and it's very serious and it doesn't look good for him. And he's going to explain why he hasn't been around on AEW Dynamite for several weeks. Well, folks, he did it. MJF is the true definition of a no-nonsense, I don't give a flying heel. Because in true heel fashion, he utilized what's going on in the world with this pandemic and the fact that people are on edge to actually just reveal that he suffered a severe hangnail injury. And that's what's been keeping him off TV. Some people would say this is without taste. Some people would say this is too far. And I agree with those point of views if they are your point of views, because everyone is entitled to their opinions, whether or not I personally agree with them or not. So I agree because it's your opinion and everyone deserves to have one. However, because this is our wrestling bubble and because that's what a heel is supposed to do is get under everyone's skin, I thought that this was just absolutely brilliant and I loved everything about it. Next up, MJF's charge or ward, if you want to call him that as well, using a Batman, the series reference from the 1960s. Wardlow picked up the victory in a squash match. I forget the participant's name, one moment. His name was Lee Johnson. So a quick squash match over Lee Johnson. Wardlow looked vicious and just tore this poor guy apart. So clearly they have big things down the road lined up for Wardlow. We'll have to wait and see where it goes. Now, next up is the headline of this video, where I asked the question, is AEW teasing the arrival of the recently released WWE stars in the Dark Order? Now, after I made these notes, immediately after watching the show, I had to eat today. So just because it's what I do, I checked out some wrestling news and some other reviews on the show because I knew they wouldn't taint my own. And it turns out that this was actually about an individual who's already been signed to the company. I do apologize, I can't remember his name, but if you want to head over to the podcast from the guys from Wrestle Talk, they'll let you know who this individual is and what he's all about. Apparently, he's a former Heisman Trophy winner, which is kind of embarrassing because I'm a big football fan, so I probably should know who he is, but his name just didn't ring a bell with me. So, therefore, I don't at this time. The big news, however, and the reason that I want to really focus on this segment was because the way they did this was all about him losing his direction. His girlfriend breaks up with him. He is looking at past accomplishments that didn't go well. And thus, he reaches out to the Dark Order saying he needs a new direction. Then Mr. Brody Lee, the Exalted One, tells him that Uno has told him all about who he is, all about what he's about, and all about his talent, and that he just needs an opportunity. He is home now. He is the Dark Order. And the way this was phrased, again, it's very hard to convey in a video, but the way this was phrased, it was very much insinuating that perhaps we were going to see the former WWE superstars, because they could easily do things like make hints to the way you got yourself over on YouTube all those years ago, the way you fight for your children, the way you were always underneath someone who didn't appreciate you until I did. Subtle little things like that where we, the audience, will know who they're talking about, but they don't have to mention the performers by name until they're legally allowed to sign them and legally allowed to do so. And I think that's a very, very smart way of doing things. Obviously, this was taped before the recent releases, but they've locked into this. So as long as they're able to maneuver things and keep this going once they go in for a new set of tapings, I think this is exactly what's going to happen. I think we're going to see at least one, if not more, of the recent WWE releases inside the Dark Order. We then saw Mr. Brody Lee in action as he got a squash match victory over Justin Law. So poor Justin Law had no shot against Mr. Brody Lee, but it was a great showcase for Brody Lee, and his dominance continues in its creepy nature as the Exalted One continues, proving that you just don't mess with Brody Lee. Next up, it was more from the Bubbly Bunch. The second time the Bubbly Bunch has been featured here on AEW, and this to me was just as funny as the first one. This one was all about Sammy Guevara being upset that Jake Hager did not capture the AEW World Championship last week, and the Inner Circle attempts to cheer Sammy up by saying, let's all do the flim flam. And they poke fun at TikTok and all do the flim flam dance together. Sammy Guevara does it best, and Chris Jericho gets frustrated at him for winning the prize, a bottle of hand sanitizer, and says, enjoy your hand sanitizer, Sammy. This was just so funny and so great. I loved every second of it. And in the main event, it was the last quarterfinals match in the TNT Championship tournament as Dustin Rhodes gets the victory over Superbad Kip Sabian. Now, what was really interesting, but also very unnecessary, was that they teased that Dustin was going to be retiring if Dustin lost this match. Again, not necessary because no one believed for a moment that Dustin wasn't going to get the victory here, and it seemed kind of pointless. But Dustin is in line in the semifinals now to face the Murder Hawk, Lance Archer, and we all know the Murder Hawk is going to murder Dustin Rhodes, thus setting up a long-awaited match, most likely in the finals for the TNT title between the Murder Hawk Lance Archer and Cody. So that's why I said that unfortunately, even though I think it should go to Darby, because a new title, a mid-card title, and a tournament also as a whole, the entire concept of it should be about getting over new talent that have never gotten a chance to get over, been given a chance. Sorry, I've never gotten a chance, is what I started to say. So I said two different things there. But they've never gotten that chance to get over. That's what it should be all about. And Darby Allin has clearly separated himself from the pack as a new star. And I think Darby Allin versus Lance Archer in a final for the TNT Championship is so much more intriguing right now. And you delay that ability of Cody to get that gold, and you delay that Cody Lance Archer match. However, I just don't think that's the way AEW is going to go. Only time will tell. So, the last thing I'm going to touch on here is just how freaking good Chris Jericho is on commentary. And this new role that he's had to take on since the pandemic happened with these tapings, he is the best color commentator already in the business. I echo Wrestle Talk and many other of my fellow wrestling pundits. This is so similar to a motivated Jerry Lawler minus the unnecessary sexual references from the mid 90s. This is color commentating at its best, putting everyone over like Kenny Omega while still staying in character by doing things like calling Kenny Omega a pumpkin head. Jericho is so good, and this has nothing to do with him being my favorite superstar of all time and me being biased. I just think he is just the best. So that's going to wrap it up for my opinions on AEW Dynamite this week. Let me know what yours were down in the comment section down below if you're checking out the replay. And as always, thank you for joining me on either Facebook or YouTube if you join me live. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, click the end screen for more content from the channel. And as I always like to say, life is only as good as you choose to make it. So make the choice to go out and do something great today.